In fact, women have to be better at communication in order to be elected as leaders, whereas this doesn't hold true for men.
We need to get those sexist stereotypes out of our head and give women a fair run for leadership.
Trying to change the stereotypes about women is not only the business of women, but men have to be part of it.
Double kill.
Welcome back to Take a Break. I'm Tim Stenevec in New York. Now for the latest on the global battle against the coronavirus. The World Health Organization's COVID special envoy says vaccine won't be enough on their own to stop the pandemic and that social distancing will continue in 2021. Earlier, Dr. David Nabarro had this to say on Bloomberg TV.
There is no alternative but to make vaccines available as widely as possible as soon as they get approved. I don't want any corners to be cut on the approval process, so each vaccine must go through their phase 3 trials and then be properly assessed by national regulators as well as by the World Health Organization. But that's the only option we have, because we rely on vaccines to get this pandemic side. Just one last point. Vaccines won't be enough on their own. We will need to continue to pay attention to the rules that were set over the last month about physical distancing, mask wearing, isolating when sick, looking after those who are frail and vulnerable.
Double kill.
Because these basic principles, backed up by strong public health work at local level, still will be key for the coming months, even years, to enable societies to get on top of this pandemic.
And over in the UK, Prime Minister Boris Johnson is set to address the nation this afternoon. He's set to announce stricter coronavirus restrictions tonight. The third national lockdown for England looks almost inevitable. Here to discuss is Bloomberg News' Emma Chandra, live from our London studio. Hey, Emma, good evening. What else should we expect from Johnson's announcement? I mean, how much stricter can lockdowns actually get?
That is the question, really. How much stricter can it get? What we understand when Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, is due to address the nation in just under 3 hours' time is that he will say that he's moving the UK to alert level 5. That's the highest possible level of alert, and it really means this was initially set out in the spring of last year, that the NHS, the National Health Service, is at risk of being overwhelmed. This alert level system is different to the tier system that is currently in place nationally and in different areas, given what kinds of restrictions a particular area comes under. The highest of that at the moment is tier 4, but that's different to alert level 5. That's what we understand will be announced by the Prime Minister this evening, and with that we're expecting stricter measures. And what that could do is schools, that's what happened in the first lockdown or shutdown back in March and April. At the moment, some schools have reopened, certainly primary schools, high schools at the moment looking to have staggered returns after the Christmas break, but there is some thought that we might see schools are having to close during that as well. Stricter social distancing measures, the return to will really be trying to stay at home unless they Scotland already has announced a national lockdown from midnight tonight, and that really is the First Minister Nicola Sturgeon saying that we are facing, certainly Scotland is facing March and April time, and that people there will really be told not to leave home unless they absolutely have to.
Emma, what is the atmosphere like in London right now? What's it like on the ground? What's day-to-day life and how it shifted with different measures that have been put in place?
It's a really interesting question, one that I feel I struggle with because you see so few people. I am allowed to come into work and work in the office. I take a car here and back to avoid taking public transport. But that holiday my family has really don't see many other people. There are few people on the streets, there is much less traffic.
London was in tier 3, where there were slightly fewer restrictions, that felt a little bit more like a normality, like a shock. So people were out and about. Really, since we had that tier 4 restriction just before Christmas, it has become very much quieter. People are out in parks and things like that, but again, much less numbers, much fewer numbers than before in the spring when we were under a really strict lockdown and people could go out, because obviously the weather is much colder as well. So it is one of being a very quiet the atmosphere here. Using social media, email, or by phone.
Yeah.
So it is understandable, but also at the same time, it really has reported 1,000 cases in the UK today, over 400 deaths. And so you kind of put your own the restrictions placed on you against obviously some really tough times for some people.
Yeah, it's a very good point to remember that the restrictions, I think, are difficult, but not as difficult, of course, as people who are losing livelihood and loved ones right now. Speaking of livelihood, the economic impact, Emma, from another lockdown has been massive. Give us some more context here about how the economy has fared and how business owners are going to make it through another lockdown.
That is the question, whether or not many businesses will another lockdown. The government still, there is still government support out there for businesses, and the furlough scheme exists so that companies furlough workers, and that is running through until April. There are some calls that there will be assistance will need to be extended but beyond April of this year. Certainly, the sector which has been hugely impacted over the past year has continuing to say, of course, that this is an incredibly difficult time for them. The UK is in a recession. There is still a double-dip recession, and really what the economic consequences of the next few months will be on top of everything we've seen in the last 9 or 10 months. Occasions, but the virus infection numbers really have prevented them. There was a sense that we would be in a different place in January than had been in other parts of the year. That it really is going to be another 2 to 3 months of serious restrictions on people's ability to move around and meet with other people as they really try to get as many people vaccinated as possible. And one might have difficulty is that vaccination rollout approved another vaccine that is ready for rollout today, the Oxford AstraZeneca.
Yeah, it's like too, Karen. I mean, a few months ago, we were thinking, okay, just a few more months of this, and then.
clasificatoria. Yo tengo una boca jugar mucho.
Hey, it's Raphael Warnock, and I'm asking you to chip in $5 or more to help us flip Georgia blue and take back the Senate from the Democrats. We're coming up on a fundraising deadline with my opponent spending millions of dollars on ads and resorting to desperate attacks. We need your help in order to fight back. $5, $10, whatever you can, please contribute so we can build the future for all of our children.
Breaking news tonight, the extraordinary audio recording of President Trump on the phone pressuring Georgia officials to change the vote count. lines for vaccines growing longer. Another 1.5 million doses given, but 9 million still sitting on shelves. The new challenges and evidence from Americans desperate to get a shot. The FBI asking for help. What did the Nashville bomber mail to people before blowing up his RV? And will it reveal a motive?
This is NBC Nightly News with Kate Snow.
Good evening. Throughout the Trump presidency, we have often used the word unprecedented to describe his actions, and now, with just over 2 weeks remaining in his term, President Trump has made a truly unprecedented phone call. On Saturday, the president spent more than an hour trying to convince the Republican Secretary of State of Georgia to change the election results. Mr. Trump repeatedly cited unproven conspiracies and asked the Secretary of State to, quote, find the votes to overturn his loss. All of it coming as a dozen Senate Republicans prepare to challenge the election results this week. We begin tonight with Kelly O'Donnell.
Inside a stunning new pressure campaign as President Trump tries to overturn his election defeat.
I just want to find 11,780 votes.
NBC News obtained the full audio from an hour-long Saturday phone call with the president, Trump advisors, and Georgia election officials.
I think you have to say that you're going to re-examine it.
Exerting the influence of the presidency, Mr. Trump leaned on Republican Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to announce a reversal of certified Georgia results from Biden to Trump.
And there's nothing wrong with saying that, that you recalculated.
Raffensperger refused.
Well, Mr. President, the challenge that you have is the data you have is wrong.
In another tense exchange, the president pushed a conspiracy theory that a voting machine company tampered with ballots. He suggested state officials engaged in illegal activity.
Now, do you think it's possible that they shredded ballots in local counties? That's what the rumor is. And also that Dominion took out machines. Dominion is really moving fast to get rid of their machinery. Do you know anything about that?
Georgia lawyer Ryan Germany shot that down.
No, Dominion has not moved any machinery out of Fulton County.
Have they moved the inner parts of the machines and replaced them with other parts?
No.
You sure, Ryan?
I'm sure.
The president threatened that Georgia officials could face legal trouble themselves.
You know what they did, and you're not reporting it. That's a criminal offense. That's a big risk to you and to Ryan, your lawyer. That's a big risk.
Piling on partisan guilt.
You should want to have an accurate election. And you're a Republican.
We believe that we do have an accurate election.
No, I know you don't.
Tonight, a Biden senior advisor described the call as irrefutable proof of a president pressuring and threatening an official of his own party to get him to rescind a state's lawful, certified vote count and fabricate another in its place.
And Kelly's with us. There's an update on the effort by some Republicans to challenge the election in Congress this week.
Well, what we know is there are groups of Trump loyalists who do plan to stage their protest, and it might be a spectacle. But now we know they do not have enough numbers to overturn the result because enough Senate Republicans have publicly stated they will affirm Joe Biden as the next president. Kate?
Kelly O'Donnell at the White House for us. Kelly, thank you. Administration officials today defended the vaccine rollout, pointing to an increase in vaccinations over the past few days. But there were more long lines and frustrated patients as the program expanded today. Sam Brock reports from Broward County, Florida.
Tonight in Florida, a sea of cars stuck in standstill. Many of the passengers seniors eyeing their first chance to get vaccinated.
We'll all be worth it if we get our shots. If they close the doors, we have a lot of very unhappy people if they don't get their shots.
The gates close at 4, but vaccinations continue for everyone in line with an appointment. The state has not yet confirmed that. Hundreds waiting in Broward County, the line stretching around corners and underneath bridges.
You're okay with waiting in hours-long lines right now to get the vaccine?
What else are we going to do? It's COVID. We're sitting at home not doing
it. Not everyone was successful.
We live in actually in the Arabic. The website is down, so there is no option there.
now in Broward or for Val.
The vaccine site coming on and offline all day as confusion reigns supreme. Those in line say the stakes couldn't be higher.
What would getting a vaccine today mean to you?
Oh, everything. I'm compromised. And if I ever get this COVID, I'll probably die.
The CDC updated its vaccination picture Sunday. The agency now reports more than 4 million people have received shots, still well below projections. Dr. Anthony Fauci remains encouraged.
The goal of vaccinating 100 million people in the first 100 days is a realistic goal. We can do 1 million people per day.
Dr. Fauci said it. 5 million people have been vaccinated. Houston just opened a
myself, and I've been truly blessed to do it.
The city's mayor announcing more than 1,000 people vaccinated that first day.
Would love to see a mega site set up. In fact, well, let's do that, but then we need to do even more in order to really speed this process along.
As waits continue to mushroom from Texas to Tennessee and, of course, Florida, where 1 in 5 residents 65 or older.
I'm a high risk. I haven't seen my kids in almost and yeah, it's pretty important.
Sam, these long lines in Florida, Texas, is this an indication of what's to come in other states?
Yeah, it could be a preview of one of the commonalities between Florida and Texas is the fact that both states are prioritizing seniors right now over some essential workers, but there's something else going on as well. Public sites like this, for the first time, people are being vaccinated at public locations, not at their workplaces. These vaccinations are still going on right now, and in that sense, Kate, it could be a glimpse of what's to come nationally. Kate?
All right, Sam brought it. We got in the car, and we were driving up. I said, "Are you Brandon?" I didn't know how to react. I just kind of told her, "Yeah, I have. I was Brandon." And that it was a positive experience for me. I said, "Do you even know what you Brandon did?" I told her that it was a symbol of the elements. I said, "No, it's not. It's Keith Rainier's initials. Who Brandon Lee's initials." I was like, "No, they're not." And then I totally blew it. And everything I did, I blew it. I was warned, like, don't say the brainwashing word and don't mention anything to do with cults. But I couldn't help myself. I immediately said, "I know you're brainwashed. And you're in a cult." It turned really bad really fast. Telling them danger, you should not go back there. People are not your friends.
I'm not asking you questions. You already know the answers.
Technology is being used that we would never believe was possible.
Beginning in 1954, gravity control was mastered.
Nazi Germany was involved in one source of technology using manufacturing
With the reverse engineering of extraterrestrials, they figured out zero-point energy. If that were to come out, it would be the end of oil, coal, nuclear power. Interstellar civilizations can be all around us and shifted beyond the speed of light and could just pop in.
It is this wedge-shaped object in Saturn's ring, which actually has been giving off signals for 25 or 30 years. And now it appears that a whole bunch of these moons might actually have liquid water below their visible surfaces. Now, this is really interesting because when you have water, you probably have life.
We have to break out of this perceptual prison. We have been manipulated. And if we don't change that, this will continue.
Thank you. We're learning more tonight about the possible motive behind that Nashville Christmas Day bombing. The FBI now asking for help, believing the bomber mailed his writers secrets to the news. Sarah Harmon has details.
Tonight, the first aerial images revealing the extent of the damage from the Christmas Day bombing in downtown Nashville. Roofs torn apart, building spaces blown off. The FBI confirmed that 3-year-old Anton sent material to acquaintances before the blast. A law enforcement source close to the investigation tells NBC News they're aware of a thumb drive and written pages from the bomber. The FBI now asking anyone who received them to come forward.
We've heard about these letters, we've heard of his conversations and maybe some conspiracies, but we still don't really know why he chose this place and why he chose this day to commit this massive bombing.
On a popular street Christmas Day, blaring music and a warning. For an explosion. He was killed in the blast. Investigators are exploring several conspiracy theories as potential motives behind the bombing outside an AT&T building, including evidence the bomber believed in lizard people and the so-called reptilian conspiracy. 2 senior law enforcement officials told NBC News last week.
So for all the people that believe in conspiracy theories, oftentimes they don't have the means to execute a violent attack or are not sure how to do it.
Nashville residents are now struggling to move forward after more than 40 businesses were damaged, several beyond repair. Leor Rose's tattoo studio totally destroyed. The surveillance video capturing the moment of the blast, the destruction immeasurable.
Haven't slept in over a week. I'm constantly tired.
Tonight, as authorities search for answers, Nashville residents who lost their homes and businesses are now facing a new year and an uncertain future. Sarah Harmon, NBC News.
Still ahead tonight, the fierce runoff race, the big impact this week's Georgia Senate election will have on the future of politics. Back now with more politics, Nancy Pelosi was once again re-elected as House Speaker today. It's her 4th term. It came as senators for the 117th Congress were sworn in by Vice President Mike Pence. But there are still 2 senators yet to be sworn in, and who they are will determine control of the U.S. Senate. President Trump and President-elect Biden will hold dueling rallies in Georgia tomorrow, where on Tuesday, 2 of the most important and heated Senate runoffs in history will finally be decided. Priscilla Thompson is there.
With control of the Senate on the line, both sides going all out in the state of Georgia.
Y'all, it all comes down to Tuesday.
Vice President-elect Kamala Harris today trying to push more Democrats to the polls.
They know when we vote, things change. They know when we vote, we win.
The Democrats need to win both races to control the chamber. On their side, a historic surge in early voting. More than 3 million have already voted. Hundreds of thousands of absentee ballots still outstanding. But the polls show both races are incredibly tight, and Republicans are banking on large election day turnout. All this while Republican Senator David Perdue is sidelined, quarantining after a close contact.
It's terrible timing, but we are not going to miss a step, Jill.
Georgia is the center of the political universe right now, the most expensive race on the airwaves in Senate history. $480 million spent on advertising. Tomorrow, both President Trump and President-elect Biden will hold competing rallies here. The president's presence, a wild card. Trump suggested in that recorded phone call that if officials don't bend to his wishes, his supporters won't turn out.
You know, the people of Georgia know that this was a scam. And because of what you've done to the president, a lot of people aren't going out to vote.
And Priscilla's with us now. So Priscilla, you said a wild card. How are the president's allegations of fraud playing with Republican voters there in Georgia?
Well, GOP voters we've spoken to largely believe the president's unfounded claims of fraud, but are still showing up to vote. The question is, will enough of them? Kate?
There's good news tonight about filling a vital need with so many students taking remote classes during the pandemic. An inspiring group is giving the gift of technology to help empower children struggling to learn. 11-year-old Mariah Anthony has been living with her mother and younger brother in a California shelter for the past year and a half.
It was a struggle for us not having a proper living situation and everything.
Mariah's mother, Dominique, couldn't afford the laptops needed for virtual learning and says the school sent only one laptop for her son. So Mariah has been using her mom's cell phone to try and keep up with her assignments.
Well, what's in my mind is trying to figure out an easier way to do the schooling and everything, and I just kept it a dead end.
Nice to meet you.
But today, that changed.
So we have a computer for you today.
First blood.
I think it's gonna help me because I can actually do my homework more better and I can see my future more better.
A much-needed gift for Mariah and her mom, thanks to the nonprofit Bridging Tech.
She was very excited. It felt pretty good.
Founded in March by Margot Bellin and Isabel Wang, seniors at Stanford University, Bridging Tech gives donated computers to students in shelters like Mariah.
When the pandemic hit, Margot and I realized that many schools were closing, and then also that the most disadvantaged students were going to be left further behind. We can actually give technology to children affected by homelessness across the United States to focus on food and water and shelter and clothing before they can even begin to focus on their education.
That's a Dell 2014.
Donated computers come in from across the country and are wiped, upgraded, and fixed. There's been such a positive response that Bridging Tech expanded out of the Bay Area and has now given away over 600 computers nationwide.
I want people to recognize that their role as a community member is super important to all nonprofits work.
Thank you so much.
Your old computer sitting in your garage can totally transform the course of one student's academic.
Now more than ever, one laptop at a time.
They take a big weight off my shoulders. It's important for us because some people don't get the help that they need.
They're still accepting donations by the way of old computers. That is NBC Nightly News for this Sunday. Lester Holt is in tomorrow. I'm Kate Snow. Happy New Year. Stay safe and have a good night.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.
Year and a half.
It was a struggle for us not having a proper living situation and everything.
Mariah's mother, Dominique, couldn't afford the laptops needed for virtual learning and says the school sent only one laptop for her son. So Mariah has been using her mom's cell phone to try and keep up with her assignments.
Well, what's in my mind is trying to figure out an easier way to do the schooling and everything, and I just kept it a dead end.
Nice to meet you.
But today, that changed.
So we have a computer for you today.
Thank you. I think it's going to help me because I can actually do my homework more better and I can see my future more better.
A much-needed gift for Mariah and her mom, thanks to the nonprofit Bridging Tech.
She was very excited. It felt pretty good.
Founded in March by Margot Bellin and Isabel Wang, seniors at Stanford University, Bridging Tech gives donated computers to students in shelters like Mariah.
When the pandemic hit, Margot and I realized that many schools were closing, and then also that the most disadvantaged students were going to be left further behind. We can actually give technology to children affected by homelessness across the United States to focus on food and water and shelter and clothing before they can even begin to focus on their education.
So that's a Dell 2014.
Donated computers come in from across the country and are wiped, upgraded, and fixed. There's been such a positive response that Bridging Tech expanded out of the Bay Area and has now given away over 600 computers nationwide.
I want people to recognize that their role as a community member is super important to all nonprofits work.
Thank you so much.
Your old computer sitting in your garage can totally transform the course of one student's academic year.
Don't memorize the Wi-Fi password.
Helping families who need it now more than ever, one laptop at a time.
They take a big weight off my shoulders. It's important for us because some people don't get the help that they need.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching. As we begin a new year, the growing fears of another COVID surge, that highly infectious new strain now found in a third state. The worrying images of crowds ringing in 2021, including members of the president's family, despite health officials' urgent pleas to stay home. Hospitals overwhelmed, some preparing to decide which patients get life-saving care. Long line.
Commissioner of Health to my left, Melissa DeRosa, Secretary to the Governor. To her left, Robert Mica, Budget Director. Today is day 310. Happy New Year. I hope everybody celebrated smart, and we will find out over the next few days. This is where we are today on the numbers. The positivity without the microclusters, 7.7 statewide. With microclusters, 8.34. The microclusters themselves, 9.35. We did 134,000 tests, which is down from the high level of testing. More people got tested before the holidays. We believe as a prophylactic before people were traveling. Number of statewide deaths is up to 170. That is a terrible way to start the new year. Statewide hospitalizations is up to 288. The discharges are 537. The admissions 925. ICU is plus 13. Intubations is plus 28. If you look around the state, there's no change in the regional allocation. Finger Lakes, still the highest percentile in terms of hospitalizations. This is not a fluke. This has been going on for weeks. I've been speaking to people throughout the Finger Lakes. They have to take it seriously. This is a function of that region's behavior. People in the Finger Lakes should be more cautious than people in other parts of the state, taking more precautions, because it's more likely people you're coming in contact with could be infected. That is just a mathematical fact. Positivity, you have Finger Lakes again, and Mohawk Valley, which was also a problem last week. But again, if you are in those areas of the state, take it seriously. And you should be using more precautions than people in other parts of the state. Downstate New York,